Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with round 14 of season 5 of the F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we head back to the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend for episode 110 of this series. It seems mad to me that we're 110 episodes in to this career mode. But yeah, obviously if you missed out on the last video from the Hungarian Grand Prix, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. Of course, at the moment there will be spoilers in just a second. But yeah, the Belgian Grand Prix has been a track that has hosted a lot of historic events over the course of the My Team Career Mode. Last season quite possibly played host to the greatest final lap I think I've ever had on F1 2020. So hopefully as we head into Season 5, we can have another good race this weekend. But yeah, like I said, there will be spoilers for the Hungarian Grand Prix in 3, 2, 1 now. So yeah, go back and check that video out if you missed it. But currently though, championship-wise, we are 80 points clear of our teammate and George Russell, tied in P2 for the World Championship there. But Mercedes are on a big run of form at the moment over the last couple of weeks. So you can see George Russell's currently on 3 podiums in a row there. Bottas on 2 podiums there, and 2 of his 3 podiums so far this championship in the last couple of races as well. And there's been a bit of an arms race forming between ourselves and Mercedes as we head into the second half of the World Championship. Progress-wise, on paper, Mercedes still have a bit of an advantage as we head into the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend. You can see we have brought more upgrades, though, to the car from the last weekend out. All of them have gone on successfully as well, which is exactly what we like to see. But yeah, heading, though, to Belgium, let's see what we can do this weekend. Have we seen another shift in power, or are Mercedes still just with a bit of a clear-cut margin on top? Well, as always, the threat of rain then is a reality at the Belgian Grand Prix as we head out straight into Q2. And if Q1 times are anything to go by, it seems that both ourselves and AlphaTauri have made quite big progress up towards Mercedes as we head in towards what I call the second half of the World Championship. But this session might be one of those ones where you just got to try and get a lap in as early as possible to try and elevate yourself up the order as we head down the hill once more in towards No Name. Just trying to keep it nice and tidy. Guan Yu Zhou was the first man to set a lap time, so at least we know how many cars are out ahead of us. I think it's both racing points, both Red Bulls, both Ferraris and a Mclaren. So hopefully, I mean, Verstappen is closing in on us. Like I said, we are on the mediums at the moment. Obviously, I don't want to hinder his lap too much, but I do need to try and get my own one on the board as well, because it might be one of those sessions where you just simply don't get a second chance. A little bit of wheel spin in 6th gear there. It's not what we need. Yeah, Verstappen very much pushing us around at this stage of the session. A long way off the pace at the moment of the guys in front. But again, this, yeah, could be a bit of a weird and wonderful qualifying session. We could see some surprises sneak through into Q3 through Launchnaut. Still completely pinned through there. Verstappen falls away just a little bit as we head in towards the final corner. Having to break about 30 metres than we did just a lap ago. As we head through the final turn, so much understeer. DRS has now been disabled as well. As we wheel spin up to the line, it's a 49.993, so nearly 12 seconds off where we were in Q1. Verstappen does go quicker, but is it, oh god, is it going to be enough? Heading back out on qualifying though, unfortunately we are in the drop zone at the moment, as more cars have been able to find pace, sat all the way down in P14, so we can only hope that the Inters are in fact the tyres to go on right towards the end of this session. They certainly obviously need a little bit of water on the track to work in a better window, so sometimes you actually find the track getting a bit damper is the way to go, as I think Verstappen has now moved himself up inside the top 10. We've only got 6 seconds on the clock as we cross over the start-finish line there, but we need a good, clean, tidy lap if we want to try and get through into Q3. If turn 1's anything to go by, we're pretty even on the pace. This is shaping up to be quite possibly one of the weirdest qualifying laps I think I've ever had on F1 2020. We're losing a lot of delta at the moment, but I can only hope we start to claw it back again in the second half of the lap. Only at Spa would you get something as ridiculous as this, where we could end up being close to a second down on our delta, and then still able to find time by the end of the lap, running horribly wide down through Pouon and in towards Sector 3 we go. Is that delta starting to come the other way? Or are we going to be starting way down the order here, ready at the end of the Belgian Grand Prix, down in towards Stabilo, trying to really open up the exit as best as possible. The gap is coming down again, We are pretty much going to be even as we head in towards the final couple of corners of the laps. We're going to have to absolutely try and nail the bus stop chicane, but we might have just waited a bit too long. The track's starting to dry up again now as we head in towards the final couple of corners. There we go, we do go green, albeit just for a moment, through the final couple of turns. A lot more rotation than we were able to get on our last lap, and we are going to be about 6/10 up as we cross the line, but it's nowhere near good enough. We just did not get the timing right. And there we go then, the end of Q2 for the Belgian Grand Prix. You can see both McLarens, Ferraris and the Racing Point of Guan Yu Zhou there right up the order, but unfortunately, yeah, very tightly knit pack towards the rear of the top 10. There you can see what everyone on the Inter separated by less than 2 seconds around the longest track on the Formula 1 calendar, but we just absolutely messed up the timing on those runs there. The same can be said for AlphaTauri. They've got a mightily quick package this weekend as well. I can't help but feel Renault have also dropped the ball. They had both cars inside the top 10 at the end of Q2 there, but not what we needed for the Belgian Grand Prix. Another spanner in the works around our favourite track on the F1 calendar. We're just going to have to get on with it and dive into the race.
We're in Belgium once again for today's round of the Formula 1 World Championship. It's a race the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher in 1992. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes Forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners, and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high-quality racing as well. Simply put it, there really is no place quite like Spa. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. That was a great podium in the last race, so can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs, so it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Albon, Carlos Sainz, and Ocon, Norris, Leclerc, Zhou, and Lewis Hamilton, Stroll, Perez, Pierre Gasly, and Kvyat, Mr. Monaco, Raikkonen, Nick de Vries, and Kevin Magnussen, King, Latifi, Giovinazzi, and Nobuharu Matsushita. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Jeff here, radio check. Check, check, can you hear me? Okay, we had a fantastic result at the last race. Let's try it again here.
Yep, the team are absolutely spot on. We did have a brilliant result last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and hopefully we'll continue on that run of good form this weekend here in Belgium. It's going to be difficult though, starting right down the order, but definitely got to try and nail the strategy and slice our way through the lower midfield early on in this race. If we can get up towards sort of 5th, 4th place maybe, obviously depending on how well the AlphaTauri's do, by the pit stop window, I'd be quite happy with that, and then hopefully the second half of the Grand Prix, we can really push on trying to close up the gap to the front runners, if of course we've got a car capable of doing so here. We're going to go soft medium ready for this one today, but I just want to dive right into it. We've got 22 laps ahead of us on the best Formula 1 track on the calendar. Let's enjoy it. 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. Off to a good little start, rather surprisingly, as we head down in towards turn 1. We'll be aggressive at the inside of a couple of cars at the start. There a little bit of contact with Guan Yu Zhou, as we tried to go 3 wide on the exit of the corner there. I think, yeah, we did get away without any front wing damage though, so that's quite good. As we head down in towards Eau Rouge for the first time. I think that was Perez trying to keep the nose at the inside. So we've got yellow flags out. That's a Red Bull in the wall, so no idea what's happened there. We might have to try and get a replay of that one in just a moment. Yeah, one of the Red Bulls, though, being sent to the rear of the field at the start of this race as Perez is going for a big old dive, completely runs into Hamilton. Carbon fibre absolutely everywhere there as well. What on earth is this start been? As we get a warning for a collision with Perez, I think it very much was the other way around there. Perez trying to go for some suicidal lunge at the end of the Kemmel Straight there, but we are up a couple of places at the start, then over to P11 as we head down the hill on lap 1, but what a dramatic start. So, post-race Matt then, having a quick look at as to what happened to Alexander Albon then as we head down in towards the first corner. You can see he does get a really good run there, right on the outside of Max Verstappen there, and almost making the move work on Valtteri Bottas as well. I think he has pulled it off around the outside of Bottas. Obviously, the performance of the Mercedes really comes into its own down the straightaway there, and Bottas a big old squeeze on the way in towards Eau Rouge, and just a tiny bit of contact, and Albon couldn't save the slide there, and I'm amazed he hasn't somehow ripped a wheel off in that moment, but a very, very close call for Albon at the start. Still seems weird. First of all, acing Hamilton in a Ferrari, and second of all, the fact that he's nowhere near the top of the running order there, but up the inside in towards Blanchimont on the end of that one. We'll barge our way through there, up at a 10th place into the points-paying positions by the end of the first lap, as now we've got both racing points of Stroll and Zhou just in front of us. George Russell leads the way at the end of lap 1, ahead of Bottas, and then obviously our teammate Verstappen as well, as I'm pretty certain Albon in P4, so it must have been Ocon. I'm pretty certain I had the issues on the start there, but yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what we can get to. Getting another good run as we head out onto the back, I guess you could call it a straight, it's just a flat-out section in towards the final couple of turns of this lap, as we're just inching closer to Lance Stroll. Get a good run down through Blanchimont. Have a look around the outside in towards the final chicane as the Canadian gives us a big old squeeze. But we should be able to complete that move. Yes, we have, inside for the second part of the corner. And we will hang Lance Stroll out to dry then. So making decent progress early on, I must admit. A lot of these runners now do have a pretty good engine down the straight, so it's not like we fly past people anymore, like the good old days. But still making decent progress. Next up, Zhou. Come on then, third time's a charm as we get ever closer to Guan Yu Zhou out in towards Blanchimont. The racing point, yeah, is mightily impressive still up the straight as he tries to give us a squeeze in towards Blanchimont, but we do get the car fully alongside. And once again, we're up another spot in the Belgian Grand Prix. I'm hoping now Lando Norris doesn't have any DRS on Charles Leclerc just in front of him, so maybe we can try and get a good run up the Kemmel Straight.
This should help us save some fuel.
Right, up through Eau Rouge then, and rally on. Let's see if we can get a good run on Lando Norris. Yeah, we're going to be alongside and basically ahead of him before we even get into the DRS zone then. The McLaren got a pretty decent package, but not down the straight still. P7 in this race. Next up, former race winner Charles Leclerc.
Check your MFD.
New fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We are absolutely flying at the early stages of this race. Obviously, a lot of these guys don't have fresh rubber for the start of the Grand Prix, so I think, yeah, all these guys obviously are starting on the rubber they used when the track started to get a bit damp in qualifying there. The team have got a new strategy. I'm more interested in trying to get a good run on Charles Leclerc and maybe Carlos Sainz up the Kemmel Straight, as Leclerc and I are both going to start closing in on the McLaren. There we go. Charles Leclerc has been disposed of. Are we going to be close enough to Sainz? No. Didn't quite feel like going for a Perez-esque send. We'll sit back for now. We've already seen just how slow the McLaren is down the straights this weekend. Are we about to see it once more as we gain on Carlos Sainz? Don't think we're going to quite get close enough before Blanchimont, so we'll hold off on the ERS. Try and get a good run on the exit there, and yeah, we've timed that beautifully. Down around the outside in towards the bus stop chicane. Sainz going to try and keep the nose there, but I think he knows as a battle he's not going to win in the long run. I'm now up at a 5th, making very good progress early on. It's actually the front runners, or at least Max Verstappen, on the mediums, so they're on an interesting strategy then. Are they going to try and go medium hard this race, or are they going to try and risk a medium soft? Oh, we got yellow flags out down in Sector 1. I think it is the Haas, not too sure which one it is. That being said, one of the Haas falling to the wayside in this Grand Prix, it is Nick de Vries, as we've got a safety car. So that could work out beautifully for us and Esteban Ocon. I managed to get the Red Bulls wrong. It was Albon that had that very, very weird crash at the start of the Grand Prix. But new strategy available. I'm sure that's going to be mediums or hards, they're saying, on lap 8. We're going to pit now onto mediums. Right, so both Mercedes, by the looks of it, have come into the pits. No, Verstappen's come in as well. That's not going to help us out, as everyone in the top 5 into the pits. So intrigued to see. I'm going to guess, yeah, those guys must all be going on to hards then to the end of the Grand Prix. One of the Mercedes has definitely lost a lot of time through that, but does still get out ahead of the midfield. Where we're going to rejoin is a very, very different question at this stage of the Grand Prix. We need Max to get a nice, tiny pit stop, which he has done so. Now we need to get onto our mediums. Can we get a good stop still? 4.2. That's not bad. We come out just behind Charles Leclerc, but we should be on quicker rubber than pretty much everyone else to the end of this race. So there we go then, nearing the halfway stage of the Belgian Grand Prix, and we're about to go green flag racing once again. And these next couple of laps could be absolutely critical if we want to try and get ourselves to the front of the field here. We're going to be on a slightly quicker rubber to the end of the Grand Prix. Obviously everyone has now pit on the end of lap 7 there, so yeah, we're all pretty much going to be in similar situations to the end, or everyone else will be. Hopefully we'll be somewhere better with a bit of luck, as Charles Leclerc with a bit of a brake check in towards the final corner. And we've both got a 5-second penalty for it. I don't do that often, but that is a bit ridiculous, and Cody's probably should look into that. Again, like I said, I don't do that often on F1 2020, and I've always made it clear if I do use rewinds, I'm going to make it glaringly obvious to you guys as well, but that was, yeah, not quite a 5-second penalty for the pair of us, I think. At the final corner, though, it is going to be green flag racing once again here from the Belgian Grand Prix, and let's see if we can try and get past Charles Leclerc sooner rather than later. Really cannot afford to be sat behind Charles Leclerc for too long in this Grand Prix. Ferrari don't have a particularly great car. These could be some massive points for him here in the Belgian Grand Prix, but straight up the inside we go before Blanchimont. Just goes to show how weak that thing is still down the straightaways there, and now we're just hovering around the second mark behind Esteban Ocon as we head in towards the final couple of corners. I'm expecting the top 3 to romp away a bit, but hopefully not too much there, as George Russell does a 140.3. We go 8/10 slower, but purple in the final sector. Right, on to lap 12. DRS now been re-enabled in this Grand Prix, and Ocon certainly is not going to get it from our teammate Verstappen, so we should hopefully now be able to fly past him up the Kemmel Straight. Obviously this Honda power unit is still incredibly quick relative to a lot of people, and yeah, with no DRS and a very aero-orientated car by Red Bull, you can just see how easily we get around the outside of Esteban Ocon there. But yeah, hopefully now we can start closing up the gap to our teammate. 1.5 to him. Bottas 2 seconds up the road. I think they're all still within DRS of each other. George Russell might just have broken free, but we've got to be quick but careful on these tyres. They've got to go the distance, but they've also got to be quick. There we go, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, just over the 100-second mark. Team's still warning us about fuel in the background, but now we need to try and get some DRS. Are we just about going to stick in the zone of our teammate Max Verstappen? I think we are just about going to hang on in there, and that could be critical one lap later. Right, in towards Rouge and Rally on once again, all back in, trying to kick out just a little bit there. Not quite what you need at 200 miles an hour, but we should get a good run on Max Verstappen. He has got the DRS on Bottas in front of him, but more worried about going defensive on ourselves. Around the outside at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Verstappen, as always, will keep the nose there. Oh, there's contact between us. I did not expect that to happen. I thought we gave him enough room on the inside, and that could be very, very disastrous in our teammate relationship there. So far this season, we've been pretty nice to each other, but that could be teammate, sort of inter-team rivalry gone wrong. Let me know your guys' thoughts and feelings to that accident down in the comments below. I felt like we gave Max enough room, and to be honest, I felt like he probably shouldn't have battled it that hard either. We are a quicker car on quicker tyres at the moment, and we've definitely still got a shot at the race victory, and I'm not sure our teammate Verstappen did, but not what we wanted to do, and forced our teammate to the rear of the field there. But yeah, can't help but feel that we can't take all the blame. Right, let's see if we can get a run on Valtteri Bottas then, as we head out the first corner. The Merc, very, very good traction out of the first corner there, down in towards Rouge and Radion. We're going to be about 8/10 back as we head through Rouge there. We've closed up about another half a tenth, but I don't think we're going to be close enough this time round to go for anything at the end of the Kemmel Straight, but we're certainly going to get ourselves a whole lot closer to Valtteri Bottas there. The gap now offering at about half a second as we head in towards Sector 2. We need to stick close, but these tyres are definitely starting to fade a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Oh, Bottas just goes a bit defensive down in towards Turn 1. Can we allow this ourselves to get a run on the X-Then? You can see once again the Mercedes able to put the power down so well out of the first turn there, but down in towards Rouge and Radion. Surely now there's going to be a big opportunity to get around the outside of Bottas and split the Mercs once again in a Grand Prix there. Yeah, Bottas doing about as well as you'd expect Bottas to do in a defensive masterclass there, and now we've got to try and take 2 seconds out of George Russell inside the final 6 laps here. We've had a great last lap battle with him last year. Is there going to be some deja vu? There we go, another new fastest lap of the Grand Prix as the gap's still just under 2 seconds as we head out onto lap 18. I think George Russell's been told to up the ante a bit. We had a bit of a sloppy lap ourselves, but the gap is still going the right direction. 3 to go here in Belgium, and I can't help but feel that Mercedes have just told George Russell just to control it at the front of the field at this stage of the day. I think they've given him full power and everything like that, because although the gap is still coming down, it is nowhere near coming down quick enough, and mistakes like that are not going to help us. Oh, there we go. George Russell, new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Goes to show just how hard he's pushing there as we find a new PB as well. But yeah, George Russell looking in control of this one with just 2 to go. Not what we need. Yep, there we go. Once again, George Russell, another new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We're still setting PBs at the end of this, but last season George Russell lost this Grand Prix in the final chicane. It doesn't look like today is going to be a repeat of that. George Russell has been in control of this Grand Prix from start to flag, unless something goes disastrously wrong at the end of this one. But I mean, 16th to 2nd. Once again, it looks like we are going to be able to split the Mercs in this Grand Prix, and I think, to be honest, that is exactly what we need to do in the second half of the season if we can't try and bring enough upgrades to the car there. Mercedes just seem to be relentless at the moment, as it is still a long shot for them to try and get up into championship contention. But if George Russell's only going to be able to take another 8 points out of me this weekend, I'll walk away fairly happy. We got 60 the gap in, 80 the gap even, I should say, in for the final 8 races of the World Championship after today. That gap will be cut down to 72, but still comfortable as we head to Monza, which, yeah, I think historically has been our best track on F1 2020 in the My Team career mode there. But rounding in towards the final few corners then of the Belgian Grand Prix, George Russell is finally going to become a race winner here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I think we might have had 4, maybe 5 different winners in the 5 times we've come back to this place over the course of F1 2020. I think, yeah, George Russell is going to go for an absolute worldie lap to finish it off there. He's pulled out a second on me and we've gone green in the first 2 sectors here. So what lap is George Russell going to do to flex Mercedes muscles in towards the final couple of corners? He is going to come through to win at the Belgian Grand Prix. What lap is it going to be? It is a 1:39.0, but we come through for P2.
Well done, good finish. You stepped up and achieved what we asked. Good job.
What a great race then, and what a magnificent victory here at the Belgium Grand Prix. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without losing pace, something that's a very handy skill to have in modern-day Formula One.
Let's move on to the constructors. The current championship leaders still hold top spot, but that gap is getting smaller. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, there we are then, guys, the end of the Belgian Grand Prix, and I cannot say we didn't push to the absolute end there, but it is George Russell who takes home another race victory in the second half of the championship. It does answer a few questions. Mercedes are definitely still the team to beat, as they've gone now 3 races in a row there, but once again we have been able to split them in at P2. Bottas comes through for 3rd place there, ahead of Ocon, who had a good race out ahead of Stroll, Leclerc, Gasly, Sainz, Raikkonen, and Kvyat rounding out your top 10 there. You can see the rest of your finishers there, the big names. Verstappen down in 20th, Alex Albon down in 15th place there, just behind Hamilton and Guan Yu Zhou as well there. But that means championship-wise, we still, like I said, have a 72-point lead at the top of the standings. George Russell now 26 clear of Max Verstappen there, and we are 98 now ahead of our teammate, who, really just has been pretty quiet over the course of this season so far. He might actually fall behind Gasly in the near future as well there. Charles Leclerc gets to jump on his teammate Lewis Hamilton with a brilliant result this weekend for Ferrari. No other movers in your Drivers' World Championship, but constructors-wise as well, no swaps anywhere down the running order as well. Just Mercedes taking a few points out of us, the gap down to 122 with 8 races left to go of the season there. Ferrari do close up the gap to Renault and McLaren. Maybe, just maybe, they can find themselves as not the worst of the midfield by the end of the season there as well. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. And yeah, we will definitely be back very, very soon with more F1 My Team Career Mode. Next time we're at Monza, you guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.